Well, hello friends. What we're going to do today is replace this crummy old faucet right here. And let's jump down underneath. I've already disconnected the pull-out, which is right here for the sprayer, and that connected up to this guy right here. And I've taken the weight off of that. So underneath, I don't know if you can see that little screw thing. There's two of those, and I'll unscrew that. That will release it from underneath the sink where it attaches on there. And then we'll be able to just pull everything out once, and then we'll go under here. Let me see. I disconnect the water valves here and here. And of course, I've already got these shut off. And I'll try and get the camera where you can see what I'm doing. I don't know, I'm just using the phone, so it's pretty cramped under here. So the first thing I'm going to do is just yank the sprayer part out. We'll get that out of the way. All right, so you're going to have to forgive the angle here a little bit. I am going to try and loosen these. Kind of do it while looking through the camera. So we'll loosen, there's one that's here. And on this particular model, there's one that's here. And we'll loosen that up. Okay, the angle is going to be a little wonky. I've got the iPhone rested up against here. But basically, to take these off, you just get a wrench or a pair of pliers or whatever you got. And then you'll just twist these off. Make sure you've turned your valves off, otherwise you're going to get a wet surprise. And again, all this stuff in here is going to be kind of cramped, and you just got to take your time. So I'm going to do this on both of these. Okay, so now we've got both of our lines disconnected, and you are going to have some water is going to come out. This was that little, I don't know what you'd call it, flange or whatever. And you have to have those lines disconnected to be able to move this off. Most of the faucets and sinks and stuff will have something that connects, and what that does is it basically pulls your sink tight on there. So what we'll do is I'll wiggle this thing off, and then I'll be able to pull the whole sink thing out, but I got to get this thing off here, first. I'll do that off camera. Now that we have everything underneath detached, what we can do is just lift this thing straight out, and it's going to be pretty nasty and gross under here. This has been on here several years, so anyway, it should just pull straight out depending on the model that you have. And just kind of wiggle it there, and that stuff comes out, and then your faucet is out. What I'll do next is I'll go in and I'll get all this stuff cleaned and wiped down to where it's as clean as I can get it, and I'll also do the same thing underneath. So I got this cleaned up about as good as it's going to get. One real quick thing, when you're going to replace your faucet, if you notice on this, it just has this one main shaft, and that would normally go just straight down into this hole. The old faucets used to have, you would have like a central one, and then you would have your cold and your hot. Most of them nowadays kind of have this type of a deal. If in your sink may only have one hole here, it may have three. In this case, this one has four. When you go to buy your replacement faucet, just make sure that if it is just a single one like this, that it does come with some type of a cover plate. Normally, the distance between here and here, here and here is going to be around like 9¼ inches or so. So what you want is your outside cover plate needs to be, for this particular thing, needs to be at least a 10-inch cover plate. So that it would cover from here to here. So from here to here is about 10 inches. This is the particular faucet I decided to go with. It's a Moen brand. You can see in the picture that would maybe go on a sink that only had one hole. And like we had talked about before, most of these will come with a deck plate that will cover up those additional holes. And then I also picked up some plumber's putty, and I will be putting that around here on that deck plate. And what that'll do is if you're kind of washing or water splashes up, it will prevent there being a leak. This will cost about $2-3, something like that. This is all the stuff that comes with the faucet. We've got the deck plate. This is an installation tool, your weight, your sprayer, your main faucet body here. This is the hose that is going to connect to, I guess, the main sprayer or the wand, and it just clicks in down here. You've got your nut here that goes on. This is the plate that will hold it up against the sink. You've got a little O-ring here that can attach onto there. I don't know, I know on a single hole that you will use that because that your faucet body is going to rest right up against the sink. With this particular one, I don't know that you need it. I don't think it would hurt to have it on. I'll take a look at it a little bit closer, but generally the body of the faucet is just going to rest in here. And then it'll pivot and turn like that. So anyway, pretty much it's going to be the reverse of what we did before. Once we get everything assembled, we just sort of drop everything down in through the sink, and then we tighten stuff up and attach the hoses here. You've got one of these will usually be labeled. One will say either hot or cold. This one says hot side on here somewhere. So you know that that one goes to the hot. This particular thing is a little bit of an odd deal that kind of goes on after you've got this in, and it acts as a little bit of a maybe hose protector is what they call it. Is it necessary? I don't know. Anyway, what we'll do is we'll get started on putting this thing together, and then we'll pop it in the sink. Let me show you something real quick about the deck plate. Normally you would take plumber's putty and kind of put it around here, maybe even just put it around the individual holes. This does have a little bit of a gasket, and I've had pretty good luck with these. It will squish down once your faucet is in and you tighten it from underneath, so you generally don't have any leaks or anything. There's no front or back to this, it's the same. It does have a couple of little lugs there that the faucet fits into. Generally in the instructions, they tell you to put your deck plate on the sink first and then drop it down. I find that sometimes it's easier to, when you're having to fish a bunch of this stuff through, to go ahead and get that all lined up with the little tabs and everything. And then it tends to not to want to jump off or move around too much. The next thing that we're going to do is we'll go underneath the sink. We'll put this mounting bracket on, which goes through there, and then this tightens up. And what we'll do is we won't tighten it all the way, but we'll get it to where it's finger tight, and then we can check for fitment and alignment and make sure that, you know, nothing's like way out of skew or crooked or anything, and it looks the way that we want it to look. All right, unfortunately, I just do not have a way doing this by myself to get a good camera angle on it. You take that little crescent shape, and you see it's got that little cutout part here. That's where your hoses, it kind of is designed to fit in there. And you run that up the shaft here, and then you run your nut all the way up, and then you get that to where it's finger tight, excuse me. The faucet is gonna kind of wiggle and move kind of side to side as you're trying to get this thing tightened. Once I've got this finger tight, what I'll do, so I'm getting a few more threads here, but basically you're just gonna run that up. Once I've got that finger tight, what I'll do is I'll go up top, and we'll look and we'll see the alignment of the faucet, and then we'll be able to run some of the other stuff through and get that stuff done. So, all right, let's go up top side. So we kind of lucked out. Our alignment is looking pretty good. If this were kind of skewed off, you know, that way you can just come in and move it because it's just finger tight for right now. Just at this point, just kind of check, make sure that it's not bound up or anything like that. And that you've got it kind of, you know, where you want it to be and everything and lined up. And I will get it a little bit better aligned when I don't have the tripod in the way. But, so what I'll do now is I'll go back underneath and I'll tighten that thing up. And if I can, I'll show you using the tool that they give you to tighten it up. So the way this works is it goes sort of up through here, and then you can twist it this way, and then you can put a screwdriver and kind of get it to where it's a little bit tighter, or you can just sort of do it by hand. If you want to give it like that 1/8 inch turn, you can put a screwdriver in there and do that. I probably will do that. We'll do it off camera. It's just too cramped in here to do it, but you can actually get pretty good leverage using that, and then it just pops right off. The next thing they want you to do is to put this plastic nut on there, and you can tell it's got sort of like a rounded edge that goes to the bottom, and you put that on there like that, and it bottoms out pretty quick. And what that does is when you've got your main water hose that's going to come down and connect into here, the edges of that shaft are pretty sharp, so it just prevents it from over time from cutting that hose. Next thing they want us to do is to go ahead and attach the hose to your spout or whatever. And this is just a little plastic thing. I don't know if I think I'm in camera here still. So when you do this, you've got plastic going into plastic on the inside down in here. If you can see, there's a little rubber washer in there. And then what you want to do is just carefully, carefully thread that in where it's finger tight. And they say to use a wrench on it. I don't know if you 100% need to use a wrench or not. I may do it just to give it a little bit of a snug, but it's on there pretty good. Basically, once that rubber washer in there kind of crushes up against that, you shouldn't have any leaks. The next thing we'll do is we'll feed that end down through the faucet body, and once we get that fed through, we'll then take the weight, and it just hangs on there, and we'll go ahead and put that on. So we'll go ahead and do that now. So we just feed that through. Make sure you leave the little protective piece on here. You'll take that off once you go through. It's got an O-ring in there, and you want to make sure that that doesn't get messed up. So you'll just push this through, and it'll go through like that. And then we'll go down underneath, and we'll put the weight on, and then I'll show you where that end piece clicks in. So anyway, I don't even know if you guys could see that or hear it, but that goes in there and clicks in, and you've got a little plastic piece. It's actually pretty ingenious. If you ever need to take that off, it's real easy to just press that in and this thing comes right off. So that is that. The next thing that we'll need to do, and I probably won't be able to get a good enough angle, is I will hook up the hoses, the hot water and the cold water hoses, get those tightened down, check them for leaks. I'll move this out of your way. And then we'll pretty much be done. Unfortunately, there is just no way I can sort of film it and show you at the same time. But again, what you'll do is you'll just make sure, like you can see that little yellow tab there, that goes to your hot and goes to your cold. Just be careful when you are putting these in that you can tell I've kind of looped them a little bit, or let's see if I can get them up like that because they're a little bit longer. Just make sure that you don't cross your threads or force them. They shouldn't be a super hard thing to go on, especially at first. You should be able to just kind of get in there with your fingers and tighten them. You may have to, with one hand, like hold the hose up a little bit, and with the other hand kind of get in there and make sure that it's aligned, and then it'll go on. So what I'll do is I will go ahead and just tighten those up with the wrench. I'll turn the water back on and check for leaks, and then we'll go up topside and run the faucet, and I'll show you that here in a second. So what I'll do now is I will turn the supply lines back on, and I've put a paper towel down there, and I'll see if there's any leaks. If there are any leaks, I will get back in there with a wrench and I will try and tighten them down. So let's go ahead and turn our supply valves on and we'll see if we get any leaks. All right, we'll do the cold. And then we'll do the hot. And then what we'll do is we'll just wait a few minutes and see if we see any drips or anything down there, and the paper towel will catch them for us if we see any. So it has been a few minutes and I haven't noticed any leaks. So what we'll do is we'll turn it on. We'll do the cold first, and we'll do it a little slow. And there may be some air that have gotten into the lines, probably not, but it may kind of spit a little bit. And then we will turn it off, and we'll turn it over to hot. And you see that black gunk that came out? That's coming from the inside of the lines. And that's normal, typical. All right, well, shuts off, moves nice and free. Shuts off, we don't have any drips. Let's go ahead and test the sprayer. All right. And it also has a temporary shut off there if you hold it. So, works great. Hope this helped. If you guys got any questions, go ahead and leave it down in the comments. I'm not a plumber or anything like that, just kind of a regular guy. And I'll answer any questions or try and help you if I can. Talk to you guys next time.